We often hear about the differences between introverts and extroverts, but have you ever stopped to consider why introverts seem to burn out faster, especially in fast-paced work environments? It's not just about needing a little quiet time. There are deeper reasons why introverts might feel drained and exhausted more quickly than their extroverted counterparts. In this video, we're going to dive into 5 key reasons why introverts are more prone to burnout. Understanding these reasons is crucial not just for introverts themselves, but for anyone who works with them, manages them, or simply wants to foster a more supportive and inclusive environment. And before we get started, let's clear up a common misconception. Being an introvert doesn't automatically mean you're shy or socially awkward. It's about where you draw your energy from and how you recharge. So let's get into it. Let's talk about social interactions. For extroverts, being around people is energizing. It's where they thrive, it's where they draw their energy from. But for introverts, it's the opposite. Social interaction, especially in large doses or with unfamiliar faces, can be incredibly draining. Imagine a battery. Extroverts recharge their battery by being social, while introverts drain theirs. Now imagine an introvert in a workplace that prioritizes constant collaboration, open office plans, and back-to-back meetings. It's like plugging that battery into a constant drain with very few opportunities to recharge. Think about the typical workday. Meetings, brainstorming sessions, team projects, these are all essential parts of many jobs. But for an introvert, these activities require a conscious effort. They're putting themselves out there, engaging in a way that might feel draining, even if they enjoy the work itself. And it's not just about the quantity of interactions, but also the quality. Superficial conversations, office small talk. These can feel especially tiring for introverts who crave deeper, more meaningful connections. They'd rather have a few close friends at work than be on a first-name basis with everyone in the office. This constant need to be on can lead to what's called introvert hangover, a feeling of exhaustion and overwhelm after too much social stimulation. It's like a muscle getting overworked. It needs time to rest and recover. So what happens when introverts don't get that crucial downtime? They push themselves, they try to keep up with the extroverted pace of the workplace, and eventually they hit a wall. This is where burnout sets in. It's important to remember that this isn't about introverts disliking people or wanting to be alone all the time. It's about recognizing that different people recharge in different ways. And for introverts, solitude is a necessity, not a luxury. We've talked about how social interactions can be draining for introverts, but where do they actually get their energy from? Well, it comes from within. Introverts often find themselves energized by their own thoughts, ideas, and inner world. Think about the activities that light you up, the things you look forward to after a long day. For introverts, this might be curling up with a good book, diving into a creative project, or simply spending time in nature, lost in their own thoughts. This internal world is where introverts process information, reflect on their experiences, and come up with their best ideas. It's their sanctuary, their source of strength. Extroverts, on the other hand, are energized by external stimulation. They thrive in social settings, feed off the energy of others, and often think best when they can bounce ideas off other people. These fundamental differences in how we recharge have a significant impact on our work-life balance. Introverts might find themselves needing more downtime after work to recover from the social demands of the day. They might prefer to work independently, focusing on tasks that allow them to delve deep into a subject. This doesn't mean they can't work in teams or collaborate effectively, but it does mean that they might need to be more intentional about scheduling breaks and creating boundaries to protect their energy. Understanding these differences is crucial for creating a work environment that supports both introverts and extroverts. When we recognize and value different energy sources, we can create a more balanced and harmonious workplace. Chapter 3: Challenging Workplace Expectations. Let's face it, in many workplaces, there's an unspoken expectation that extroversion equals success. We often associate leadership qualities with being outgoing, charismatic, and assertive traits that come naturally to extroverts. Introverts, on the other hand, might be perceived as quiet, reserved, or even aloof. Their thoughtfulness can be mistaken for hesitation, their preference for listening over speaking seen as a lack of initiative. This bias towards extroversion can put introverts at a disadvantage, making them feel like they need to constantly prove themselves or conform to a mold that doesn't fit. They might feel pressured to speak up in meetings even when they don't have anything to add, or to attend every social event even if it means sacrificing valuable downtime. This constant pressure to be someone they're not can be incredibly draining and contribute to feelings of burnout. It's important to remember that leadership comes in many forms. Introverts bring valuable skills to the table. They're often great listeners, deep thinkers, and insightful problem solvers. They might not be the loudest voice in the room, but their contributions are no less valuable. Creating a workplace that values diversity, including diversity in personality types, is essential for unlocking the full potential of all employees. When we embrace different work styles and communication preferences, we create a more inclusive and ultimately more successful environment. Chapter 4. The Weight of Perfectionism. Introverts tend to have a strong inner critic. They hold themselves to high standards and strive for excellence in everything they do. While this dedication to quality can be a strength, it can also be a double-edged sword. When combined with the pressures of the workplace, this tendency towards perfectionism can lead to intense feelings of pressure and self-doubt. Introverts might spend hours agonizing over details that others wouldn't think twice about, or replaying conversations in their heads, analyzing every word they said. This constant self-scrutiny can be exhausting and take a toll on their mental well-being. They might find themselves working late into the night to perfect a project, sacrificing sleep and personal time in pursuit of an unattainable standard. This relentless pursuit of perfection can quickly lead to burnout. Introverts might start to feel like they're never good enough, no matter how hard they try. They might withdraw from colleagues, fearing judgment or criticism, further isolating themselves and exacerbating feelings of loneliness. It's important for introverts to recognize this tendency towards perfectionism and to develop strategies for managing it. Setting realistic expectations, breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks, and practicing self-compassion are all crucial steps in combating the negative effects of perfectionism. Chapter 5. Finding your voice. The struggle to be heard. Introverts often process information internally. They take time to reflect, weigh different perspectives, and formulate their thoughts before sharing them with the world. While this thoughtful approach can lead to well-reasoned ideas and insights, it can also make it challenging for introverts to express themselves, especially in fast-paced work environments. In meetings, for example, introverts might need a few moments to gather their thoughts before speaking up. They might prefer to listen and observe, taking in all the information before contributing their own ideas. This can be misinterpreted as disinterest or lack of engagement, when in reality, the introvert is simply processing information in a different way. This difficulty expressing themselves can also make it challenging for introverts to advocate for their own needs, set boundaries, or speak up when they disagree with something. They might shy away from conflict, preferring to avoid confrontation, even if it means sacrificing their own well-being or career advancement. Learning to communicate effectively is essential for introverts to thrive in any workplace. This doesn't mean they need to become extroverts overnight, but it does mean finding ways to express themselves authentically and confidently. This might involve practicing their communication skills, seeking out mentors or supportive colleagues, or simply taking the time to process their thoughts and feelings before engaging in important conversations. Outgrow embracing our differences. We've covered a lot of ground in this video, from the draining nature of social interactions to the pressure of perfectionism. It's clear that introverts face unique challenges in a world that often seems designed for extroverts. But it's also important to remember that introversion is not a weakness. It's simply a different way of being in the world, one with its own strengths and challenges. As employers, managers, and colleagues, it's our responsibility to create a workplace that values diversity in all its forms, including personality type. This means recognizing that not everyone thrives in the same environment, that different people have different needs, and that sometimes the quietest voices have the most valuable things to say. And to all the introverts out there, remember to take care of yourselves. Set boundaries, prioritize your well-being, and don't be afraid to ask for what you need.